You've mixed up two people who looked alike at least once in your life. Awkward, but forgivable. Ancient people had the same problem, except with actual twins, and they never quite forgave it. If you're a twin, they couldn't decide if you were a god or a death sentence. Some cultures worshipped you, others killed you at birth, and the ones who let you live, half of them didn't even agree on which one of you is older. Let's go find out why humans never knew what to do with two of the same person. Let's start with the good news. In Yoruba culture, twins weren't just welcomed, they were royalty. One baby is a celebration. Two babies is basically a coronation. The Yoruba call them Ibeji, double birth. Two bodies, believed to share a single soul. A twin birth could mean drumming loud enough to reach the next village. For days. News like that didn't stay quiet for long. And if one twin died, the family didn't just grieve. They carved a wooden statue, dressed it in tiny clothes, and wiped its mouth clean at every meal, like it still had a body to feed. Being a twin here was basically winning a lottery you didn't know you'd entered. Which matters, because a few hundred miles away, in the exact same country, the lottery had a very different second prize. Now, different part of Nigeria. Completely different verdict. Among the Igbo and Efik people, twins weren't royalty. They were a bad omen. Some communities believed twin births were unnatural, even cursed, and the babies were often left crying in the forest overnight, not out of hatred, but because the whole community had convinced itself there was no other option. This went on for generations, until one missionary, Mary Slessor, and one local king, Eyo Honesty II, both pushed back hard and started sheltering twins and their mothers instead. Same country, same species, two completely opposite verdicts on the exact same event. Being a twin here wasn't a lottery. It was a coin flip, and the losing side didn't get a wooden statue. They got left in the woods. Europe had its own theory about twins, and it had nothing to do with gods or omens or curses. Medieval Europeans believed there was only one way a woman could have twins. She had to have slept with two different men. Not a rumor whispered over dinner. An actual accusation taken seriously by neighbors, priests, and courts. If twins looked different from each other, that was treated as evidence, practically physical proof, that one child had one father and the other child had another. There's a 12th century French story where a noblewoman publicly humiliates her neighbor for having twins, accusing her outright of adultery in front of the whole household. A few pages later, in the exact same story, that same noblewoman gives birth to twins of her own, which meant by her own logic she'd just publicly confessed to a crime she didn't even know she'd committed yet. The consequences weren't just gossip either. Women accused this way could be shamed, exiled, or formally investigated. And here's the strange part. Modern science actually found a real version of this. It's called heteropaternal superfecundation. Twins conceived days apart with two different fathers. It's real. It's just almost impossibly rare. Fewer than 20 documented cases ever, which means medieval Europe accidentally stumbled onto a real biological possibility while still getting the math wrong for nearly every actual twin born. And here's where it gets weird, even for the cultures who loved twins. In Yoruba tradition, the second twin born is actually considered the older one. The logic, the younger soul sends the older one out first to check if the outside world is safe. Basically the twin equivalent of saying you go first and then getting seniority for it. A community in Ivory Coast agrees, for a different reason. They believe the second twin was positioned deeper in the womb, so technically they'd been there longer. So if you're a twin who always assumed you were the older one because you came out first, some cultures would like a word. Somewhere out there is a man who's spent 45 years bossing his twin brother around, completely unaware he was just the one sent out first to check if the outside world would kill them. So congratulations, you weren't the firstborn, you were the test subject. The confusion didn't stop at who's older. It went all the way up to mythology itself. The Greeks and Romans couldn't make up their minds either, sometimes within the same myth. Take Romulus and Remus, twin brothers, raised by a wolf. Together they set out to found a great city. Then they argued about where exactly to build it, and Romulus killed his own twin brother over it. Rome, one of the most powerful empires in human history, was literally founded on a body. Nothing says strong foundation quite like fratricide over a zoning dispute. Meanwhile, a different set of Greek twins got the opposite ending, Castor and Pollux. One was mortal, one was the son of a god. When the mortal one died, the immortal one refused to be pulled apart from his brother. So Zeus let them split eternity between them. Half the time on Olympus, half the time in the underworld. Together, either way. Same civilization. One twin story ends in fratricide over a construction dispute. The other ends in two brothers refusing to be separated by literal death. Same gods, same century. Two completely different endings. Okay, so ancient people clearly had a complicated relationship with twins. Surely we've moved past all that by now, right? Actually, we just gave it a new name. Twin telepathy. You've probably heard the claim, twins can sense when the other one is in pain or thinking the exact same thought from miles away. Psychologist Nancy Siegel, who has spent decades studying twins, says there's no real evidence for this at all. What's actually happening is much less magical. Shared genetics, shared upbringing, and a habit researchers call retrospective falsification, which is a fancy way of saying we remember the hits and quietly forget the misses. Two twins in different cities both craving Taco Bell at 2 a.m. isn't a psychic bond. It's just what happens when two people eat the exact same meals for 18 straight years. That's not telepathy. That's a shared childhood with extra steps, which honestly might be the first genuinely good news twins have gotten in 3,000 years of humans deciding what they are. But here's the interesting part. That belief that twins share one soul, one mind, isn't new. It's the exact same idea the Yoruba had 3,000 years ago. We just swapped shared soul for shared brainwaves and called it science. So why does the human brain struggle so much with two identical people? Turns out we're not really built to process duplication. One person is a person. Two identical people breaks a pattern our brain relies on to make sense of the world. And when something breaks a pattern, humans don't shrug it off. We assign meaning to it. Divine, cursed, anything but normal. Because normal isn't an option our brain offers here. Worship or fear, different reactions, same root cause. We didn't know what box to put you in, so we built a whole religion around it instead. So if you're a twin, sit with this for a second. For the first time in 3,000 years, nobody's deciding whether you're a god or a mistake. You just get to be a person. Honestly, that might be the wildest outcome in this entire video. Tell me in the comments. Are you the twin who came out first, or the one everyone should technically be bowing to? And if you've ever mixed up two people who looked alike, just imagine being the two people. Subscribe for more stories about the beliefs humans built and eventually had to take back. See you in the next one.